Bob took the lessons. You know, he had gone through the BYU classes of book, of the religion classes. And so after, it was a year later, and Scott had been born, so we all went and got sealed together, and also I think the nursery lady, because they think her thumb somehow was in there, so we don't know in the hereafter if she's going to be with us or not. But he took the lessons. He was very sincere about it, and my whole family was there when brothers-in-law and sisters and everything, and it was the right thing to do. But you tell your part of it with your family.
Well, they didn't like it at all. Especially when we got married in the temple, and I tried to explain to them, some of the procedures that temple. They didn't like that at all. They weren't happy with it. They weren't happy because I changed my religion. I was never born into a Catholic family. I never practiced my religion. I didn't believe in it. I didn't have time for it. All I wanted to do was play baseball. That's all I wanted to do. Even on Sundays, my brother would try to come home, to our house and pull me out of bed to go to church. I didn't want to. The one time I went to church was with my dad at Christmas Mass on Christmas Eve. That's the only time he went to church. So, but, one of the things that really, inside my family that really increased with me was when I was at BYU, I was still a non-member, was playing with the guys in the baseball team. The examples they had, how happy they were. Nobody pushed me. I remember one time that we had to get dressed up in our, blue blazers and slacks. Went to church. I had no idea what was going on, and had to give a talk. Well, I wouldn't remember. And I can't remember what I said. It was only a couple of minutes, but it was the example that they set. Of course, it was Coach Tuckett. Always took care of me. So I was very fortunate. But things happened in families that they never talked to me for a long, long time, and it used to weigh on me a lot. And even though when I would call just to say how you doing, hang up the phone. Okay. So then one day she told me, said, "You're done. Quit calling." So when my sister developed cancer stuff, she wanted to see me. That's when they got the call, and they called back again and said she's not going to make it through the night. So that's why Elaine and Jamie got me the plane ticket, and she did. The day I got there, she passed away. So I'm assuming, I have a feeling that she knew I was there. But she wanted to talk to me when I talked a little bit on the phone, so I want you here. But as far as after that, my family never came around. I called, and finally, I got tired of being hung up on, and I just stopped calling and stuff. So but my family was different, never really had religion or anything else, and it did weigh on me for a long, long time. And even when my brother tried to tell him about what's going on, he hung up on me. So I said, "I'm done. I'm not going to deal with it anymore. They don't want to talk to me. They're fine." So.
But you've had a relationship with your niece.
Yes, my sister's daughter, Dee Dee, is her name. Actually, Denise, I call her Dee Dee, and she sent me information she even sent me some stuff about my dad coming over from when he stole away on the boat, because he had to get out of Italy. Mm-hmm. He found his sister and his mother dead at the dinner table. He had been poisoned, so he got out. So she sent me some records. She even sent me photos when I was in high school, and the little kid was like this big. My sister take care of me, so we still have a good relationship. She's the only one But, it just, it was just special. And then meeting her family, and her mother wanted her brother to make sure I was an okay guy. And she said, "There's nothing wrong with this guy. He's okay." So, and that's what it is. And when we came to U.S. Southern California, USC to play, Chuck let me go meet her parents. I think it was for dinner,
Yeah.
I believe. And I got along great, no problem. I think they even went to the game, I'm not sure. But um, her family was just special, her sisters, her brothers, everybody, treated me right and stuff. So, yes, that was it.
Awesome. What were some hobbies that you had when you grew up?
Building airplanes. I love to read. That was one thing. I love doing that. I played the piano. Took lessons from my mom, and then when I got really, really good, then my mom sent me to another higher up teacher, a friend of hers. I always loved to, if I wanted to do something, if I didn't feel right, I'd play the piano. But my family is very musical, except me. I could play the piano, but carry a tune, no. My mom was a very accomplished musician, and my dad had a quartet that my mom was the accompanist for, and they used to travel. Our stake was the whole San Fernando Valley, and now you've got like 15 wards in the valley. But they would go to all of these places where if they had a ward dinner or something like that, and they were always the quartet was always the entertainment. And being the youngest child, I got to go to all of these things, and I was always quite envious of these people who could carry a note. And my dad used to say, because my sisters sing, they used to say, "Okay, girls, why don't you sing?" And I'd get up, my dad would say, "Well, no, you can sit on the couch." I really don't have very many talents that I grew up with. But what was the question? I'm sorry.
Hobbies or talents?
Oh, hobbies or talents. So I started, but I liked being alone. I liked my own space. I still like my own space. And so I started watching some movies, World War II movies that had airplanes in them, the John Wayne movies. He also did those rather than the cowboy ones. And I happened to be in the drugstore, and I saw that the Five and Dime, and I noticed that they had model airplanes that you could put together. So I told my mom, I said, I want to try that. And when you talk to my sister, we shared a room. She said, "Yeah, we had airplanes everywhere in her half of the room." But that's what I would do. I would build them, and I'd hang them from the ceiling. And I had my favorites, but it was something that nobody else in my family did. And I think that's kind of what I've always done, is what they do, I'm going to do something else. And I don't want to be the fourth child that just falls in that. But, I used to sit down and play the piano when my kids were younger, but it wasn't like my mom used to, if we couldn't settle down at night, she would play the piano. And my brother is the one that says it was the one thing that calmed him down every night. And, and that's a good memory. But other than that, I was always the last one picked, in PE. I didn't even bother raising my hand. I just knew, okay, let's see which team am I going to end up on. Um, but I don't know. I love to read. Trying to think what other things when the Dodgers moved from Brooklyn, um, my dad and I every Saturday then when they had a game, and at that time they were playing at the Coliseum because they didn't have a field, and my dad and I would go every time there was a game. So that was a special event that I would go with my dad, and that's why I love baseball because it's part of my dad. It's part of my husband. Um, okay, what other hobbies would I have? That was probably just about it. I had best friends. We used to go to the beach every summer, and I had one friend whose mother would take us camping every summer, and always at the beach, Carpinteria Beach. Um, but I think that was about. I was kind of a quiet child. Did things, on my own. I read a lot.
Same question?
I'm sure you had more hobbies, and they always picked you first.
Well, as far as, the relationship in the family, like I say, my mother and I never really got along. She didn't appreciate my sense of humor, my jokes, playing on her.
Well, some weren't very nice.
And my dad and I would spend time together. Never had much of an education, but we would do things together, whether or not it was going hunting, or just going to the dump yards, going to get gas in the car. I always went with them, and I enjoyed that time. I was kind of stuck to myself a lot growing up. I was more interested in sports than anything. My hobby which was really simple, was just buying little model car kits, building them and painting them and keeping them. That was I guess an outlet for me.
That's probably what attracted us to each other. My airplanes and his model cars.
And baseball.
And baseball, right. Except he was a Giant fan.
I can't sing. I try to sing. I just like singing along with different singers, but I just always wanted to just kind of be by myself somewhat, do my own thing. Sports was the biggest thing for me. That's what I wanted. I grew up a Giant fan because they had Willie Mays. I was born to the Yankees. I had a scout who worked with me during the off season. Unfortunately, he passed away at an early age. But Yankees were my team. I wanted to be a Yankee, no matter what. I wanted to be a major league ball player, no matter what. It materialized. I don't talk about my baseball career much at all. Elaine brings it up more. She'll mention it, to other people. It's not important to me. I have the memories of what I did, the enjoyment I had. I met a lot of major league ball players, pitched against a few of them who made the major leagues. So, but I don't go out and come up and just say, well, yeah, I was a minor league ball player, and I did this and that. It's not important to me. I don't live in the past. I try not to live in the past. I have a friend who does, and it just drives me crazy. But,
he's driving himself crazy.
Yeah, he does. He worries about everything. But like I say, I had a close relationship with my sister. Her brothers, they were doing their own thing, but I came from a different family. We weren't really close. A lot of arguing, a lot of times. My brother would come in and say, if you don't argue, he'd just take off with his family. He'd just walk out the door. My sister would do the same thing. My other brother was married for a while. It was just me, but my family, definitely nothing compared to Elaine's family. I know her mother tried to teach me the piano. After about 10 minutes, she said, you're done. I couldn't get my fingers to do anything. She tried. So I just go in the other room with my father-in-law. We watch TV, you know. But no, my family was completely different. It wasn't close like hers. Family. Of course, she had a church too, which helped. I didn't have that. I didn't want it. Had other things to do, you know. But I always thought. I remember one time, it was on a Sunday. Just got through playing baseball. Got through with guys from high school. And one guy, there was four of us. One guy looked and he said, "You see that sunset?" He said, "One of these, you're not going to be around to see it. So take advantage of it." You know, and I used to think, there's got to be more to life than just this. You know, you're gone and that's the end of it. You know, it didn't make any sense. I can remember as a young kid, see 8 to 10 years old, watching the show, the Kate Smith show. You know, I remember I just sat there on the floor watching. It was the story of Christ. From the beginning to the crucifixion. And I should say, why? Why would they do this to that person? Look how much good he was doing. And, you know, that one thing has always stuck with me. Always. You know, it's never left. I always remember that. But as far as the closeness of my family, it wasn't there. Except for my sister. At that point, even as a senior in high school, it was still close. After that, got married and a few other things happened. That was the end of it. So, that's it.